Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Jiro teaches Izuku how to play guitar for the UA Culture Festival, but slowly begins to fall for him in the process, part 1. So before we start, please go check out the author of this fanfic, Oh Dyr, link is in the description. Also subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's begin the video. 30 days until UA Culture Festival. Aizawa looks upon the 4 intern students who had just completed the final extra class. On each of their faces he sees a look of relief, but on Midoriya's face in particular, he sees a look of slight regret. Alright, you can all go, but before that, Midoriya, can I have a word with you? The rest of you can wait outside for your classmate, Aizawa states. As he sees the other students outside the classroom, he begins to question Midoriya. Midoriya, what's wrong? Don't tell me you enjoyed having extra classes. Aizawa looks down at his student, as his suspicions are confirmed when he says nothing. Midoriya, look, I can't help you if you don't tell me what's wrong, he puts bluntly. Midoriya, with a deep breath, begins to speak. Mr. Aizawa, I don't think I'm strong enough. I was barely able to stop Chisaki, and it cost Mr. Night Eye his life, and if I had been faster, maybe I could have prevented Togata from losing his quirk. Tears began to fill Midoriya's eyes, as he continued. I'm beginning to think I'm not good enough. That I'm not a true hero, that I'll never be strong enough, and I don't know what to do, sir. Aizawa looked down at the young boy. He knew that his student was definitely going through some mental turmoil, but this confirmed it was worse than he had initially thought. Midoriya, I know it's not easy. The path to becoming a hero is one that takes determination. Not everyone can make it through that path. I know what I'm saying won't console you, but I will say you do indeed have the heart of a hero. Believe in yourself. Whilst it will take time, I'm sure eventually you will heal. For the time being, you should use the upcoming festival as a distraction. You're doing a song and dance performance, right? Try learning a new instrument, something to distract yourself with. It's what I would do. Aizawa finishes his pep talk with the boy. Whilst he wouldn't outright say it, he knew that Midoriya had potential to become a great hero. All he needed was to believe in himself. Alright, go back to your dorm now. I'm sure you have plenty of work that needs to be done. Yes, Mr. Aizawa, thanks for that. I think I will try to distract myself for the time being. Midoriya, with new resolve, steels himself for what's to come. Whilst he returns to the dorms with his classmates, he can't help but feel excited at the prospect of the culture festival. Meanwhile, back at the dorms, upon selecting Bakugo as the drummer for the Class 1A Culture Festival band, the class continues the discussion in order to figure out what they need to do next. Yaoyorozu chimes in. As part of my education, I studied piano from a young age. Will that be of any help? Then Yamomo, you'll be on the keyboards. Ashido chimed in excitedly. We've gotta have a synth for club music. Yamomo, it'll be a big help. Jiro adds a look of glee covering her face. I will do my best. Yaoyorozu was excited for a chance to help in any way. She was well aware of Jiro's insecurities regarding her hobby, and wished to use this as an opportunity to help her friend become more comfortable with herself. I was gonna have a girls' dance group with all the girls, but you'll be cute, so it's fine, Ashido added, with a somewhat disappointed tone. I'll play bass, so we just need guitars and vocals then. Jiro felt excited at the prospect of showing off her musical talents, but somewhere deep inside she also dreaded what was to come, by exposing her passions to the world. So everyone else will be in the dance? Jiro questioned. Ida chimed in. Yeah, but will that be enough to fire everyone up? Unsure of how to proceed further. In that video with the dance, Todoroki began to speak only to be cut off by Ashido excitedly yelling. We've got to put in some effects. That, Todoroki finished. Some of the class looked confused as to what they meant by effects. Ashido quickly grabbed a computer in order to demonstrate her point. For example, like this. See how they use sparks, and streamers, and that disco ball to fire everyone up. Effects are there to set the mood. Ooh, let's make it like the parades at the happiest place on earth, Hagakure shouted with glee. We can do it like that with everyone participating, Ashido added. We're using the gym for this, right? Sato queried. Yes, Mr. Aizawa has already made the arrangements, Ida replied. Ashido, excitedly shouting out her current train of thought. Then what if briefly stumbling on her own thoughts before continuing. Uraraka makes Todoroki and Kirishima float, and then Kirishima scrapes at Todoroki's eyes to chip away at it. Then, Aoyama can be a disco ball, and it'll look like lights twinkling down like stardust. I call it Team Snowman, Ashido shouts confidently. A human shaved ice machine, Mineta laughs. It's like the teaming up we were talking about before, Kaminari adds. I'm a disco ball? A look of sadness overcomes Aoyama, before being overcome by a look of excitement. That's not bad, he finishes. The gym will look spectacular, Yaoyorozu chimes in, excitedly. Yes, I think it's a great idea, Ida adds. In that case, we need people working behind the scenes for the effects, huh? Hagakure adds, before hearing a tired voice coming from the entrance to the Class 1A Heights Alliance. Hey, Kirishima interjects, a look of relief on his face, as the class sees the 4 intern students back from their extra classes. Sorry we're late, Midoriya chimes in, with a smile on his face, looking forward to working on the Culture Festival concert with the rest of his class. We've finally made up all our can help out for real now, adds Uraraka, with a look of both relief and excitement on her face over what's to come. The rest of Class 1A fills them in on what they've discussed, so they can all understand what's happening. I see, we've decided on a new rave-type club rock for the music, huh? Ajiri states bluntly. I understand Jiro on bass, and Yaoyorozu on keyboards, Kirishima adds, unsure if he should say what he was thinking. But Bakugo on drums is kind of how I put it. Uraraka similarly was unsure on if she should continue what she was saying. Unexpected, Hagakure boldly states. You got a problem with that? Bakugo angrily retorts. Uraraka, Kirishima, and Ajiri all shake their heads, not wanting to put themselves on Bakugo's bad side. So, who will sing the all-important vocals? Ajiri questions the class. Well, we haven't decided yet, Jiro nervously responds. Huh, you're not going to sing, Jiro? Uraraka asks, confused. Huh, Jiro shouts, getting slightly embarrassed at the prospect. If it's vocals you want, I can do it. It'll make me popular, Mineta adds boldly, wanting to boost his status with the girls at school. I can be a disco ball and sing, Aoyama interjects, a sparkle in his eye. Yeah, I can't play any instruments, but I'm a pretty good singer, Kirishima continues, before he starts singing a song, completely unrelated to the style of song they've selected for the Culture Festival. Uraraka comments on this. Isn't that a different genre? Only to be ignored by the red-headed boy, whilst Mineta inexplicably begins yelling gibberish, prompting Ashido to ask if he's just yelling, whilst Aoyama attempts to show his musical talents by attempting a falsetto, much to the class's surprise. I'm with Achiko. I think it should be you, Jiro. When you were teaching us in your room, your singing was super cool, too, Hagakure adds, unable to stop herself from complimenting her friend. Hey, don't make this harder by making people expect. Jiro begins doubting herself, only to be interrupted by a microphone in her face, and Hagakure yelling, it's fine, it's fine. You're just gonna disregard the shouts of our souls? Just how good is she, huh? Huh, Mineta asks, a hint of jealousy in his voice. I wanna hear your singing, Jiro. Sing something for us, Kirishima says expectantly. The class pauses, as Jiro begins to sing, leaving the rest of her classmates in awe. While she thinks, Midoriya begins thinking to himself how beautiful her voice is. There was something awe-inspiring about it, like her voice was looking out to the future in hope, and Midoriya began to be inspired by that same hope. Midoriya had already found Jiro's passion for music and heroism inspiring, and hearing her only further cemented this fact. Deep in the back of his mind, he even began thinking of Jiro as cute, but that was washed away by the awe he felt within her talent. After completing her mini-performance, Jiro looks up nervously, unsure if they enjoyed her performance, and begins to doubt herself more when she hears nothing at first. However, this doubt is washed away once she hears the uproar of applause her class gives her. My ears are so happy, yells Hagakure. What a husky, sexy voice, Ashido adds, whilst Kirishima, Aoyama, and Mineta, the ones who doubted her, stood speechless, unable to say anything at all. All right. It's unanimous, then, Ida yells with a look of excitement. Then, let's leave that aside, so we still need guitars. I want to, Jiro yells, unable to completely wash away her embarrassment at what just happened. Let me do it, yells Mineta. Mineta is handed a guitar, before tears start rolling down his cheeks, as he realizes he is too short to be able to play guitar. He runs away cursing his small stature. I want to dance, claims Sato, with a look of anticipation in his eyes. Me too. I can move pretty well with my tail, adds Ojiro, looking forward to being able to prove himself to his classmates. I want to work on effects with my tape, Siro adds, before being cut off by the sound of a guitar. What a heart-rending sound, Kirishima states in reaction to Tokoemi playing guitar. You can play? Why didn't you say anything? Shoji questions his classmate. I quit once at the F chord, Tokoemi states, with a look of disappointment in his eyes. Jiro can't help but empathize with Tokoemi, as she also understands how difficult it can be to learn an instrument. Mineta, if you are giving up on the guitar, then I will strum for you, as well, Tokoemi pledges, wanting to help his classmate feel better. Mineta wallows in his own self-pity for a bit, until he is cheered up by the prospect of having a harem part within the dance performance. Okay, well, we need one more person to play guitar. Any volunteers? Jiro speaks up, hoping to find someone else willing to play in the band. Kaminari, about to speak, is not given the opportunity. As Midoriya begins to speak, Jiro, I was wondering if, maybe, I could play guitar. I've never actually played an instrument, so if you'd rather someone who has experience, that's fine, but I would be interested in learning an instrument. Jiro can see a hint of sadness in Midoriya's eyes, as if he has ulterior motives for wanting to learn guitar, wanting to help him feel better. She begins to accept. Alright Midoriya, you can only to be cut off by Bakugo, who angrily shouts. Deku, it isn't a matter of if you want to learn or not, I don't care if you've never played or not, but are you going to murder it? Bakugo did his usual angry scowl, but this time it seemed like he had a sense of purpose. Midoriya is initially unsure of what he means, but sees a look of determination in Bakugo's eyes, as if he's trying to help himself move forward despite his doubts. Like Midoriya had once helped Bakugo do. Midoriya responds, alright Kaken, I'll do it, I'll murder it, he states, with a look of determination on his face. Jiro looks at Midoriya, and can't help but admire his desire to move forward, and the look of determination in his eyes. Alright then, it's decided. Midoriya, I'll help you learn the guitar, so I'm gonna need to try your hardest. We don't have much time. Alright? Jiro firmly states. You got it, I'll do my best, Midoriya responds, a look of resolve in his eyes, that is noticed by Jiro. After several more hours of deliberation, after 1 a.m., everyone's roles had been decided upon, and everyone was ready to begin working on the performance, and they were all going to be very busy starting tomorrow. As everyone returned to their rooms, Midoriya remained briefly to clean up some things that were left in the common area. As he was focused on some of the things Jiro had told him that would help him learn guitar, he muttered to himself, as he usually did, in order to get his thoughts across to himself. As such, he didn't notice the footsteps behind him, and jumped in shock, as someone tapped him on the shoulders from behind. Midoriya turned around to see who it was, only to see it was Jiro. She laughed to herself. Haha, sorry for startling you. I actually came over to see if you were okay. You were muttering to yourself again, a look of worry over her face. Oh sorry, that's just what I do to get my thoughts across. Sorry that I worried you. As he spoke, Jiro noticed that his eyes became slightly lifeless, or that they had a hint of sadness to them. Unable to figure out what the problem was, but knowing that something was wrong, Jiro steeled herself, ready to help the green-haired boy. Midoriya, I just wanted to let you know that if you ever need to vent, or need help with anything for that matter, I'm here to talk. I don't know what's got you so down, but I do know we need our resident hero nerd back. Anyways, if you're ready to start learning guitar, come meet me at my room tomorrow after school. Alright. Jiro smiled, before she turned around, and began returning to her room. As she walked away, her face was overcome by a dark shade of red. Oh my god, I can't believe I just invited him to my room. I need to go back and say we'll do it in the common area. That makes more sense. People might get ideas if I invite him to my room alone. Whilst she thought these things in her head, she couldn't bring herself to do it. She returned to her room, still a dark shade of red, and laid on her bed. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'll just be teaching him how to play guitar. Who knows, maybe I'll get to know him a little bit more. Jiro began closing her eyes, but she couldn't help but have a smile on her face. Midoriya, who was still cleaning the common area, was in a similar shade of red, and began to get lost in a whirlwind of his own thoughts. Jiro invited me to her room to learn guitar. Her room, a girl's room, and a girl invited me to her room. No, I'm overthinking it. There's no extra meaning here. She's just going to help me learn guitar. It's not like she likes me or anything. It's not like I like her, right? I mean, sure, she's attractive, and sure I would go out with her. Midoriya got caught on his own thought process. He couldn't believe he actually thought that. But the more he thought about it, the more it seemed true. He always had admired Jiro's passion and drive to improve, as both a musician and a hero. In fact, she was arguably trying harder than most of the class, as she was trying to improve at both at the same time. I mean, sure, she's a cool girl, a cute girl, a cool hero, but that doesn't matter. She's a friend, and she's going to help me learn guitar, regardless of how I feel. I need to push those feelings aside, and make sure I try my hardest so I don't fail everyone. Midoriya briefly paused his thoughts. I don't want to fail everyone again. I need to do better. Midoriya finished cleaning up the common area, before returning to her room, and, as hard as he tried not to, couldn't help but burst into tears, disappointed in himself due to his own shortcomings and failures. But he had to move forward. Whilst it might be hard, he couldn't be stuck in the past. He had to move forward. Midoriya rested up against his bed, and began to sleep. Jiro, who was also trying to sleep, had recently heard someone crying for the past few nights, ever since the interns had come back from the Yakuza raid. She was never 100% sure who it was, but now it seemed obvious. The person who she could hear crying was Midoriya, the very person she was going to teach how to play guitar. Jiro had resolved to help her friend, and she planned on using the guitar lessons to do so, and whilst she wouldn't do it immediately, she planned on trying to make him feel better. With sadness in her heart, Jiro decided to call it a night. It was Thursday, just past noon, and Midoriya had requested to have a private conversation with his mentor, All Might. They found themselves in the room, with All Might already having made tea for the two to drink. Young Midoriya, welcome, please take a seat. All Might beamed, and Midoriya obliged. I hear Class A's doing something like a dance hall concert for the school festival? It sounds fun. All Might spoke to his pupil, a look of good spirits covering his face. Yes, it looks like we'll be busy. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to too. I'm going to be playing guitar, and I have a lot of work to do, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. All Might. Midoriya spoke with a sense of pride, happy to be speaking to his mentor, and also happy to be able to tell him he was still working hard. However, a hint of doubt was still within Midoriya's voice, and All Might noticed. So, what did you want to talk about at a time like this? I feel like it's been a while since we've talked like this, just the two of us, All Might questioned. Midoriya looked down at his tea, slightly fearful of the topic he was about to bring up, but began to speak. At the word study, I was able to force out 20% with my own strength. It took a toll on my body, and I could only use it for a short time, but even then, I couldn't win. Far from it. If it hadn't been there, I wouldn't have been able to move, and I would have been defeated. I couldn't do anything in response to the long-distance attacks. I tried thinking about it, but I don't know how I should fight in my current state, unable to use 100% of my strength. You're at a dead end, huh? All Might respond. Yes. Midoriya looked at his teacher, who had given him everything, and was disappointed in himself that he couldn't live up to his expectations. There's only one thing I can say. You should also make long-distance attacks, All Might put bluntly. I wish I could draw out the power to change weather like you, All Might, Midoriya said, with a sense of panic. I've also been looking back, and thinking about various things. For your sake, let's go outside, All Might stated, whilst offering assistance to his young pupil, knowing he could figure out what he needed to do next, with a little nudge. Midoriya joined his teacher outside in his gym clothes, uncertain as to what the reason was, as he waited in anticipation for what All Might had to say. Alright, young Midoriya, I want you to use 20% of your power here, All Might said, once again bluntly. You want me to use 20% here? Midoriya responded with confusion. Yeah, let's full cowling, All Might cheered. But like I was saying earlier, when I'm at 20%, my body starts to creak, and I end up not being able to move. That's why I'm working hard to build strength right now, Midoriya ran. Forget that, just go into full cowling, yelled All Might, slightly annoyed. Yes sir, Midoriya responded, filling himself with the resolve necessary to act on his teacher's request. As Midoriya activated his full cowling at 20%, a gust of wind surrounded him. Midoriya could feel his bones creaking, as a result of the power, but was determined to push through it. Send out one attack after another in that state, in that spot, All Might requested. Midoriya obliged, and leaped into the air, and attempted to launch an attack, kicking his leg, only to see a large gust of wind, as a result of his strength, followed by a large explosive impact due to the force of his kick. I was going to teach you this once you passed an allowable limit of 15%. If you didn't figure it out in the last fight, either you must have been fighting a very defensive match, or you can already send out pressured winds without breaking your body, All Might stated, with a look of pride in his eyes. But either way, Midoriya retorted, his body creaking all over. Let's take a look at the stages your body has gone through. 1. Use one for all at 100% on one part of your body. 2. Control the percentage you use on one part of your body. 3. Control the percentage you use on your whole body continuously. 4. Use shoot style, which uses your legs rather than your weaker arms. 5. Raise your control from 5% to 8%. 6. Currently, if you force yourself, you can draw out up to 20% for a short time. And now, the essence of today's lesson. Actually, I All Might attempted to conclude before being cut off by Midoriya. I am not continuously putting out 100% of your power, right? If All Might was always at 100% for his every move, then he would leave shock waves and disaster around him. That's it, right? It must be, since I can't hold 20% for very long, just at the moment of impact. I take number 2, controlling the percentage on one body part, and number 6, drawing out 20% for a short time by forcing it, and putting them together, Midoriya concluded, with a new sense of knowledge to work towards. It's easy to say, but you need to draw out power right at your limit in an instant. You'll need even more delicate control than you've had until now. And now, I have a question for you, young Midoriya. What part of the human body can you move with the most precision? All Might questioned his pupil. Midoriya thought briefly, before finding the answer, preparing to flick his fingers. That's right, you should practice control with those fingers, All Might stated, proud his student was able to figure it out without himself telling the young boy. Midoriya began to enter full cowling once again, this time at 8% throughout his body, and prepared to flick his fingers, but just before the moment of impact, Midoriya changed the amount of power to 20% in just his fingers, and launched a gust of wind, strong enough to destroy a tree. Although his hand hurt a lot after doing so, you won't be able to get the hang of it right away. All Might consoled his pupil, expecting to be disappointed, only to be surprised when Midoriya looked back at his teacher with a look of excitement. Thank you, All Might, I can see my path now. All Might gave his student a reassuring nod. Midoriya knew what he needed to do now in order to further develop his power. Once I master controlling my power, I can go beyond, to the next stage. Midoriya thanked his mentor for helping him figure out how to further progress his powers, and went back to his normal classes, with a sense of nervous anticipation at what was to come later during that day. Classes ended, and everyone went back to the dorms, as usual. But Midoriya nervously approached Jiro's room. He knew he was just there to learn guitar, but he couldn't help but be nervous. Midoriya took a deep breath in an attempt to calm his nerves, before knocking on the door in front of him. Shortly after knocking, the door opened, with Jiro standing in the door frame. She was wearing a violet-colored t-shirt that read Deep Dope, and some shorts. Midoriya couldn't help but notice her clothing choices, as his heart rate sped up, which was easy for Jiro to notice due to her quirk. Hey, Jiro, I'm here. Thanks for offering to teach me. Midoriya couldn't help but stutter and trip over his words, and he couldn't understand why. I thought I put this all behind me. Why is all I can think about how cute she is right now? Jiro couldn't help but laugh. You really are a nervous guy, aren't you, Midoriya? Don't worry, I don't bite. There's nothing to be scared of. Come in, let's get to practicing. We don't have long to teach you, so we better get a move on, Jiro said with a calm smile on her face. Midoriya calmed down and entered the room, for now he had been able to keep his thoughts under control, and was ready to start practicing. A few hours passed, and they were both hard at work. Jiro was astonished how much he'd learned in the couple of hours they'd been practicing, but it still wasn't going to be enough, and they had a long road ahead of them. Jiro decided to break the silence. So Midoriya, is there a reason why you wanted to learn guitar? There Midoriya briefly pondered, telling her the truth, but ultimately decided against it. She didn't need to know his problems. You see, I've always wanted to learn guitar, but I was never given the opportunity. I figured now would be a good time to try. Jiro could tell he wasn't exactly lying, but it wasn't the truth either. Jiro could hear the sadness in his voice, no matter how much he tried to hide it. She looked into the green-haired boy's eyes for a moment. Although there was a hint of sadness, there was still resolve, and Jiro admired that. She considered pushing a little bit, but decided against it. Maybe once I get to know him more I can ask him again. Jiro couldn't help but feel a little disheartened, but ultimately decided to move on. Alright, Broccoli Head, let's get back to it. We still have a lot of work to do. Midoriya blushed in surprise at being called Broccoli Head, but a smile rested on his face, a look of determination once again in his eyes. Yeah. Several hours passed, and Jiro couldn't help but be shocked at the amount of progress Midoriya was making in such a short time. You're really good at this, aren't you, Midoriya? I didn't think you'd be able to learn this much in such a short amount of time. Jiro beamed. Midoriya's heart rate began to race again. Her smile is so cute, he quickly snapped out of it. I wouldn't have been able to learn this much if it wasn't for you, Jiro. You're a really good teacher, and you're also really good at guitar, with you teaching them. Anyone could learn this quickly. Jiro couldn't help but blush at the comment. Well, it's almost time for dinner. How about we call it a day? Midoriya couldn't help but feel a little bit disappointed, and Jiro could see that. Besides, she still wasn't sure what he's been so sad about, but she didn't feel she knew him well enough to ask yet. Actually, on second thought, Jiro began to speak again, but paused, unsure if she should continue what she wanted to say, but ultimately decided to continue. Instead of calling it a day, why don't we just take a break and have a snack? There's a bit more I think I could teach you today, if you're up for it, that is. Midoriya's expression began to light up. He looked up at Jiro with an earnest smile. Yeah, that'd be great. I still have more stuff I want to learn. Jiro started to light up a little bit at the smile. Has he always been this cute? She wondered. It took her a moment to realize what she actually just thought, before turning a bright shade of red, much to Midoriya's confusion. She quickly turned around. Alright then. We'll meet back here in 10 minutes, she proclaimed before she rushed out of the room. Oh my god, did I just call him cute? I can't believe I just thought that. She paused for a moment, unsure what to make of it. I mean, it's not like I don't think he's cute, but I don't have time to think about this. I'm just teaching him music. There's no extra meaning behind it. Yeah, that's right. I'm just trying to help out a friend. Jiro continued walking towards the kitchen in order to get food, but still couldn't help but felt like what she said wasn't true, but she chose to ignore it. Both Midoriya and Jiro took a moment to briefly have a break and eat a snack. Before going back to her room to resume the lesson, they continued for a few more hours laughing together, while Midoriya did his best to learn his given instrument. Jiro was having the time of her life. Whilst she wouldn't admit it, even to herself, she really enjoyed hanging out with Midoriya. She hadn't been this happy in a while, and her heart was full thanks to this green-haired boy. Jiro noticed that Midoriya was struggling with what she was currently teaching him. Having a little bit of trouble with Midoriya? Midoriya looked back at her. Yeah, I can't really get this chord progression right. He pouted slightly, earning a chuckle from Jiro. Yeah, this is one of the more difficult parts of this song. Here, let me help. Before Midoriya had a chance to respond, Jiro was sitting behind him, with her hands over his, guiding his hands to where they needed to go. Midoriya lit up at what was happening. Jiro is holding my hands. A girl is holding my hands. Midoriya began nervously rambling, unsure of what to do, earning another laugh out of Jiro. Come on, broccoli head, let me help you. Midoriya looked back to see an earnest smile on her face. She seriously is too cute, but she's only trying to help. Yeah. Midoriya rationalized the situation, before speaking again. Alright Jiro, thanks. Jiro helped Midoriya with what he was currently struggling with. She led his hands to where they needed to be. She was gentle, her hands felt kind. Midoriya finally got the hang of it, and Jiro couldn't help but be proud of the boy. Thanks Jiro, I think I've got the hang of it now. Midoriya's usual smile covered his face, earning a blush from the girl. No problem Midoriya. Jiro moved away from Midoriya, before falling into a spiral of her own thoughts. Oh my god, did I really just do that? I mean, I was just trying to help him, and I helped him out, right? But if that's the case, then why did it feel so erotic? Jiro blushed even more at her own thoughts, as she shoved her head into a pillow, and screamed. Much to Midoriya's confusion, she got back up, and pushed herself to speak. Alright Midoriya, let's continue. She couldn't help but stutter, but they continued, as she tried to put her thoughts behind her. Several more hours went by. Midoriya was having a great time with Jiro. He had forgotten all his worries, and all he had to live up to, and in this moment, it was just him, and Jiro. Midoriya felt a buzz in his pocket, as he received a text message. It was from Ida. Midoriya, it is almost midnight, and I have yet to see you return to your room yet. I know you're trying your hardest in order to learn the guitar, but I must inform you that, as your class representative, I am obligated to tell you to return to your room. Midoriya couldn't believe had 8 hours of his day learning how to play guitar with Jiro. I'm so sorry Jiro. I didn't realize what time it was. I should go back to my room. I've probably kept you awake. Thanks for teaching me today. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night Jiro, he said with a sense of urgency on his face, before leaving Jiro's room before he gave her a chance to respond. Jiro watched, as the green-haired boy ran back to his room, before she looked at her phone. Had 8 hours really passed? To Jiro it felt like only a fraction of that time had actually passed. And what's more, she was sad to see the boy go. She wanted to keep talking to him, keep teaching him, and she wanted to be able to get to know him even more. She didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. I think I'll send him a text message. I didn't actually get to say goodbye, so it wouldn't be weird, right? And I also have to tell him that I'll teach him again tomorrow at the same time. Yeah, it's not weird. Jiro finished her train of thought before shooting Midoriya a message. Midoriya felt a buzz in his pocket once again. It was Jiro. Midoriya quickly opened the message. Hey broccoli head, thought I'd say goodnight considering you didn't give me a chance to. I enjoyed hanging out with you. Also, you might not believe me, but you've improved crazy quickly, but I still need to teach you more if I want you ready for band practice this weekend. Alright. Good night Midoriya, smiley face. Midoriya laid in bed, a smile on his face. I can't wait to talk to her again was the only thought that popped into his head, and for the first night in a week, Midoriya slept peacefully. Jiro on the other hand was a deep shade of red, as a result of the message he just sent. That was so awkward. He probably thinks I'm so weird now. I was even holding his hands earlier. Ugh, why am I like this? I'm so dash. Jiro's train of thought was cut off by a buzz from her phone. Sorry Jiro, good night. I'll see you tomorrow, smiley face. Jiro put her phone down, and closed her eyes with a smile. Maybe it wasn't so bad, she thought to herself before drifting off to sleep. 28 days until UA Culture Festival. It was Friday, the last day of the school week, and the last day Midoriya would be able to practice alone before he actually had to start practicing on the song they were to perform. Midoriya woke up surprisingly well rested, which hasn't happened in a while. What's more, he woke up with a smile on his face. It was 5:30 a.m. Midoriya usually woke up a little bit later than this, but he was determined to begin practicing on controlling power in certain parts of his body. Filled with this determination, he got out of bed, got into some clothes that were suitable for training, and made his way outside. 20 minutes after Midoriya began his training, Jiro was woken up by some sounds she heard outside of the dorms. As her hearing was more accurate than others in her class, she was sure that none of them would have heard it. But she knew someone was awake, but who would be dumb enough to wake up at 6 a.m.? Jiro, unsure what to make of it, and also slightly annoyed, someone woke her up, put on pants and a hoodie, and made her way outside. Midoriya was in his own world. He focused on keeping his full cowling at 8% throughout his body, whilst also trying to simultaneously adjust the power in his fingers to 20%. It wasn't easy, and he still couldn't do it consistently. On top of that, it caused a great deal of pain each time, so it wasn't something that was going to be easy. But he knew this was the way to improving, and he steeled his resolve, and continued to train, only to be interrupted by a familiar face. Figures it would be you out here this early. You have always worked way harder than you've needed to. Midoriya recognized the voice. He turned around to see it was Jiro, the very person teaching him yesterday. So what's got you out here so early? Can't be because you enjoy getting up early, I imagine. Jiro laughed to herself, whilst eagerly awaiting a response. She was genuinely curious. Well, I guess I've found something that I can work towards. I need to get stronger so I can live up to the expectations of those around me. Wait, did I wake you up? I'm so sorry, Jiro. I'll try to be quieter. I didn't mean to. Midoriya attempted to apologize, but was interrupted. It's fine, Midoriya. Keep doing your best, Jiro beamed, with a smile plastered across her face. Midoriya couldn't help but be transfixed on her face. He really couldn't believe how cute she was. Midoriya shook his head, and responded, Thanks, Jiro. I'll try my best. Midoriya similarly beamed a smile, his eyes full of ambition. Jiro couldn't help but notice her heart flutter a little bit, causing her to blush. Why do I feel like this whenever I talk to Midoriya? What's happening to me? Jiro sat there, and pondered for a moment, before concluding, Alright, well, good luck with your training, Midoriya. I'm up now, so I guess I may as well go shower. As Jiro began to walk away, she was hit with an idea, which caused her to stop. She'd been wanting to do this for a while anyways, and maybe this could help her understand Midoriya more, so she could help him feel better. And maybe it could help her understand her feelings more. On second thought, Hey Midoriya, I was actually wondering if you'd be willing to help me with a bit of hand-to-hand combat. I feel a bit too reliant on my quirk, and I've been meaning to work on this for a while, and now seems like a good a time as any. Besides, I'm teaching you how to play guitar. It's the least you can do, right? Jiro had a smug grin on her face. Are you sure, Jiro? I'm not that good myself. I still have a lot I need to work on. I feel like I wouldn't be much help. Midoriya couldn't help but doubt himself. Oh come on, you know that's ridiculous. You're the only one who can fight Bakugo in hand-to-hand combat evenly, and we all know how strong he is. Stop underselling yourself. You're strong. Jiro couldn't help but retort. She was surprised that Midoriya of all people was so self-deprecating, and couldn't stand the idea of him being so hard on himself. Well, if you're sure, Jiro, I'll try and help you. I hope you're alright with me teaching you, Midoriya replied before bowing. Jiro couldn't help but blush at the idea of him bowing. I'm looking forward to Broccoli Head. Alright, so where do we begin? Jiro responded, eager to learn. Both Midoriya and Jiro began training together. Midoriya showed Jiro his hero handbook that he had kept to himself to show her some of the ideas he had for her quirk, and how she could use it in battle. Jiro couldn't help but be surprised at how neat everything was, and how easy it was to understand. I'll probably ask him for help on note-taking later, as well, she thought to herself before she continued. Midoriya began by showing her some basic moves he'd use in battle. Midoriya's fighting style was all about prediction and anticipation, which Jiro didn't mind, as she had a similar approach to fighting. Midoriya sparred with Jiro in between, practicing his ability to control his quirk, and he couldn't help but be surprised at how quickly she improved. An hour and a half later, at 7:30 a.m., Jiro was beaten. Do you seriously train this hard every day? She yelled, barely able to stand up anymore. Well, yeah, I guess. I'm sorry. Was it too hard? I should have tried to adjust it a little bit. I've been doing this type of training for over a year now. Midoriya spoke. He felt bad for making Jiro do such difficult training, but he continued. But you really blew me away. I didn't think you'd be this good so quickly. It took me way longer to get the basics down. Midoriya scratched the back of his head and grinned. He wasn't lying. She blushed at the compliment. Well, thanks for helping, Midoriya. Say, would you mind if I joined you more often? Jiro asked, a look of anticipation on her face. I wouldn't mind, as long as you're okay with having me as a teacher. His face slightly red, but a smile on his face. He'd been so used to training alone. Having someone to train with seemed like a nice change of pace. Now help me up. I can barely walk. Jiro sighed. Oh, I'm so sorry. Midoriya helped Jiro up, and, as she held onto his body, she couldn't help but feel the muscles underneath his clothes. Was he always this buff? She questioned, before immediately blushing a deep red. Midoriya helped her back to the dorms, before they parted ways, and both went to shower. Jiro couldn't help but think to herself in the shower, gosh, I'm so bad. I can't believe I felt him up. Jiro continued to shower, albeit while blushing super hard. School continued, as normal. Midoriya spent his lunchtime training with all might again, determined to control his power better. He was working hard towards his goal. Jiro couldn't help but notice him out in the yard, training again, and had to admire his work ethic, before continuing on with her day. school ended, and everyone began to prepare for the weekend, whilst Midoriya found himself once again at Jiro's room, this time even more nervous than the last. Why am I so nervous? Whenever we're talking I feel so comfortable, so why am I nervous? Why am I unable to keep my feelings in check? Midoriya reprimanded himself, and knocked on the door. Jiro opened the door once again, a smile on her face, excited to once again teach the boy, excited to talk to him again. What's up, Midoriya? Are you looking forward to practicing guitar again? We've got a lot to get through today, so we better get started. Jiro grinned. She was excited to see how much he could improve again. Midoriya nodded, as he entered Jiro's room, eager to practice once again. Jiro spent some time teaching Midoriya how to be more efficient with hand motions whilst playing, whilst minimizing unnecessary movements. Jiro couldn't help but once again admired Midoriya's work ethic. Geez, this boy really works hard, doesn't he? They continued practicing for several more hours, before Midoriya requested to take a break. I'm sorry, Jiro. I need to take a little break. My arms are a little tired is all. Jiro nodded, noticing his arms were shaking. Maybe he's overworking himself a little bit. I mean, he was training this morning, and probably has been training for a while. And now to spend so much time on this must be difficult. Jiro pouted. She couldn't help but notice Midoriya's scar-covered hands as he stretched. She had noticed these yesterday, whilst she was helping Midoriya, but didn't say anything. But they were concerned about her. Midoriya, why are you trying so hard? What's driving you? I mean, you work so hard. And your hand there. So Jiro couldn't finish her sentence. She looked at the green-haired boy, and couldn't help but tear up, before a reassuring arm landed upon her shoulder. I'm only here thanks to the help of a lot of different people, so I have to work hard. Midoriya paused briefly, glancing at his hand. All these scars, the doctors told me if I keep destroying my body 3 to 4 more times, my arms may never work again. Jiro couldn't help but tear up more. How much pain has he been through? Midoriya wiped the girl's tears away, and looked her in the eyes. But I've gotten all these scars helping people. I'm working hard to make sure I can control this power, working hard so I can help more people. I'm sorry if they concern you, but to me they're proof I'm a hero. Midoriya had a look of determination in his eyes. Jiro couldn't help but smile. Geez, what am I going to do with you, broccoli head? She blushed slightly. You always make the class worry. You're always going overboard. She couldn't help but sigh, before continuing. Alright, you ready to get back to it then? An earnest smile on her face. Yeah, I'm ready now, Midoriya replied, pumping his fist in the air. Midoriya continued practicing with Jiro for the rest of that day. Midoriya felt like he was beginning to get the hang of it. He was starting to be able to play without Jiro needing to interject and correct him on things. Whilst he was still struggling on some things here and there, he felt like he had made a lot of progress from the day before, and was somewhat proud of himself. Jiro was in awe at how much he improved today. He had improved more than he had yesterday, and in less time, Jiro could feel how much more he understood the instrument, and was astonished by his progress. Midoriya had set an alarm earlier in the day for when he was going to sleep, and, as the school week had just ended, he liked to stay up a bit later, either to train some more, and study for classes. However, today he didn't realize how quickly time had passed, as he had been practicing with Jiro until 1 a.m. A look of shock overcame his face, as he began desperately apologizing to Jiro once again. Oh my god, Jiro, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize how late it was. I'm sorry I kept you up. Midoriya was cut off by Jiro. It's fine. Stop worrying so much, Midoriya. I didn't realize how late it was either. Guess that just shows we were enjoying ourselves. Huh, Midoriya? I enjoy your company anyway, so it's fine. Jiro could help but blush while saying that. She continued, but we really should get some rest. We have a lot of work to do tomorrow. And don't worry about being ready or not. I'm certain you're ready. And if you need a little bit of help, I'll be there anyways. Alright, good night, broccoli head. Jiro waved with a sincere and content smile. You're right, good night, Jiro. Thanks for all the help. And for the record, I enjoyed myself too. He smiled back, before gently closing the door and heading back to his room. Jiro couldn't help but blush at that last comment, and the smile he gave at the end. He really doesn't understand how cute he is. It makes me angry that he doesn't understand how cute he is. Jiro paused for a brief moment. Every time she was with Midoriya, she felt so content. She felt happy. She realized how often she'd been thinking of him in different light recently. She continued to think to herself, trying to get to the bottom of it. I mean, I've always thought he was kind of cute, but recently he's become really cute. I actually think I'm kind of attracted to him. Do I like Midoriya? No, we're just friends, right? I think my friends are cute. I think Yamomo is cute. But this is different. Jiro continued to think of her interactions with the boy, and she was reminded of the sadness in his eyes. She was reminded of the tears he shed, and how he wasn't crying yesterday, or today for that matter. Jiro smiled. I hope he's feeling better. Jiro concluded her thoughts, and headed to bed. She still had a lot more to think about, but that could wait for another time. Midoriya walked back to his room, blushing all the way there. I can't stop thinking about how attractive Jiro is. Every time I speak to her, I can't help but think about how cute she is. I guess I've been hanging out with her a lot recently, but just because I think she's cute doesn't mean I like her, right? Midoriya paused his thoughts for a brief moment as he entered his room. I don't really know what to feel right now, but I do know that hanging out with Jiro, I enjoy it. It makes me happy, and that's all that matters. There doesn't have to be any extra meaning. She's just a friend who makes me happy. Midoriya drifted off to sleep, still unsure of how he felt, but happy nonetheless. 27 days until UA Culture Festival. Saturday begins. Bakugo and Todoroki don't have provisional license training today, so each group is planning on practicing this afternoon, beginning from 12 p.m. Midoriya finds himself waking up a bit earlier than everyone else, as usual, in order to get some training done in the morning before he has band practice with the rest of the group. 7 a.m. Midoriya begins working on his full calling control again, in order to develop ranged attacks. Finding he's beginning to find some progress. It's been 3 days, but he's already able to consistently control his power, but is yet to be able to minimize any of the drawbacks associated with it. Jiro joins Midoriya at 8:30 a.m., doing the same hand-to-hand practice she was doing with Midoriya yesterday. Whilst she wouldn't verbally admit it, she really enjoyed training with Midoriya. Although his training was extremely difficult, Jiro found she was once again barely able to stand afterwards. You think you could go a little easy on me, Midoriya? Jiro pouted. I'm sorry, Jiro, I know it's hard, but if you can stick to it, you'll get a lot better, I promise. Midoriya was determined to help her in the same way she had helped him, albeit he didn't think he was nearly as good of a teacher as Jiro, but that's besides the point. Alright, well, help me to the showers. We've got a lot of work to do today, and try not to let Bakugo boss you around today. That's my job. Jiro winked, causing Midoriya to blush. Midoriya helped Jiro to the showers, and then left to go back practice some guitar on his own for a bit. He still hadn't gotten the hang of everything, but he was able to do most of the parts from the music sheet he was given. Several hours later, all the groups gathered, and began preparing. There was a little less than a month to complete everything, and they had their work cut out for them. Midoriya stood with his guitar, nervously anticipating the practice, before Bakugo yelled, Deku, don't go be useless today. You said you murder it, and I want you to murder it, alright. Alright, Kaken, I'll try my best. Midoriya stuttered nervously, whilst he and Bakugo were on friendlier terms. He still wasn't able to completely shake his nervousness around him. Everyone was hard at work, trying their best to prepare for the culture festival. Ashido was, as strict as usual with dancing, singling out Ida in particular for being too stiff in his movements. The effects team was hard at work, however they realized they need more people if they wanted it all to work out. With everyone working so hard at work, everyone failed to notice Togata, and Eri walked into their dorms. Togata, noticing that they'd yet to notice him, began to scheme. Let's see, I'll make my appearance with a joke, and grab a laugh. Midoriya looked over at the entrance briefly, noticed him, and called out to him. Oh, Togata! Much to Togata's displeasure. That's when the class noticed a scared and nervous Eri behind her, causing the interns to call out to her. Eri and Togata's appearance had caused all groups to pause what they were doing, the interns in particular running over to her. Eri, Midoriya called out. Deku. Eri nervously responded, happy to see him, but unsure how to react. Oh Jiro, who had followed the group, was confused, asking, What? Who's this? Your daughter, Togata? What lovely clothes, Azuri pointed out. So cute. Uraraka couldn't help but blurt out. Midoriya. Aizawa called out to Midoriya, who had accompanied both Togata and Eri to the Class 1A dorms. The principal has given permission, so in order to keep her from being surprised and panicking, we wanted to let her visit once to get used to it. Ida and Jiro had walked up to see what was happening, but upon hearing the name Eri, he had remembered what Uraraka and Midoriya had told him about work study. Eri, I see, you're from work study, Ida pointed out. I'm Ida. Nice to meet you. Hi Eri, I'm Jiro. It's nice to meet you. You look cute. Jiro couldn't help but call her cute. Eri hid behind Togata, as she was shy about meeting so many new people. She's kind of shy, right? Togata pointed out. So, I wanted to take Eri around you. Midoriya. Do you want to come too? Oh, I'd love to, but I've got to practice so I can get more used to using a guitar, Midoriya said, although with sadness. Eri began to look sad, until Jiro interjected. It's fine, Midoriya. We'll just take a break until you get back. She seems like she wants to talk to you, so it's fine. Midoriya was about to thank her, but interrupted himself with an idea. Jiro, what if you can be with us? Jiro said bluntly, and confused. It would be nice for Eri to have a girl to talk to, and she's going to watch our performance, so it'd make sense for her to get to know the main vocalist. Midoriya beamed brightly, a smile covering his face. Blushing, Jiro responded, I guess that makes sense. I'll come with you, I guess. Scratching the back of her head and avoiding eye contact, Kirishima, who had previously been very concentrated on his work, looked up in order to approach the dance team about something, only to notice Eri. Oh, it's Eri, he shouted with a smile on his face. Hey there, wait, you don't know who I am, huh? Ashido spoke up. Then, why don't we all take a break then? And get back to work when they get back. Let's have some tea time, she shouted before heading back inside with everyone else. Whilst Midoriya, Jiro, and Togata went to show Eri around school. Several minutes had passed and had already begun showing Eri around school. Togata let Eri know what was going on. Today's a weekend, but since everyone's in the dorms, a lot of students are still preparing for the festival. Jiro, unsure of what to say, started speaking to Eri. So Eri, what do you think of our school so far? Do you like it? Eri nervously looked over at Jiro and responded. It's nice, I've never met so many people, so it's scary. But I'm looking forward to talking to Deku, Lemillion, and you, Yuri. Jiro laughed a little bit before correcting her. It's Jiro, nice try though. She gave Eri a sincere smile, which made Eri feel glad. Jiro, I look forward to getting to know you, Jiro. Eri responded, still hiding behind Togata shyly. As they continued to walk around, they showed Eri the other classes and introduced her to some of the other students at the school, even if one of those people was Monoma, which Togata claimed was the dark side of Udata. They continued to show her around until they got to the cafeteria of UA. Well, that's about it, Togata said, as he sat down at the cafeteria next to Eri. Are you used to it? I mean, how was it? Midoriya asked. I don't really know, Eri responded, leaving the two of them unsure what to say. But there are a lot of different people working hard, so I wonder how it'll turn out, which caused both Togata and Midoriya to be damaged. That's what people call getting excited, Eri, Jiro chimed in. I'm also excited about the school festival. We're all working our hardest to make sure it's something everyone can enjoy, so I hope you'll enjoy it as well, Eri. Jiro finished speaking, a bright smile covering her face. Jiro couldn't help but think about Midoriya when she said this, and not just in regards to the school festival, but rather in general. She thought about all the hardships he endured to get here, and how hard he's still working in order to make the people who got him here proud. She blushed at the thought, but continued, me and Midoriya will be making music, so I hope you watch. We'll try our best, so enjoy yourself. Midoriya was stunned. He couldn't say anything. She had put it perfectly despite never speaking to Eri prior to today. You're going to be singing, Deku? Eri asked. I'm going to be playing guitar. Jiro is going to be singing, and she'll be doing her best for you. Alright? Midoriya beamed a bright smile. I'll do my best to make it fun for you, so make sure you come watch. Sorry, our break's almost over, so I'm heading off. Jiro, let's get back to work so we can make sure it's the best show it can possibly be for Eri. Midoriya spoke, a smile plastered on his face, causing Jiro's heart to flutter once again. Geez, Midoriya, you're really gonna make me fall for you, she thought, although with a smile on her face. Okay, just so you know, I'm looking forward to it too, cheered Togata, as the pair both ran off ready to get back to work. As they ran back to the dorms, Jiro couldn't stop herself from asking, so Midoriya, about Eri. How do you know her? I know you met her at your internship, but who exactly is she? As she finished the sentence, she could hear Midoriya's sadness in his reply. She's the girl we worked so hard to save at the internships. She's a girl who's never known what it means to smile. That's why I'm working so hard to make our performance the best it can be. She hasn't been truly saved yet. She's still haunted by the man who once abused her. That's why I'm thankful for your help, Jiro. Thanks to you, she may smile. Your music can save this girl. Upon hearing this, Jiro couldn't help but be shocked. This girl had to live through so many hardships, and even after being rescued, she still doesn't know what it truly means to smile. But what stuck with her most was the words Midoriya said to her personally. Your music can save this girl. Jiro had always wanted to be a hero. That's why she's always been so insecure about her passion for music. But now, there's a chance her passion for music can save someone. Even without knowing her past, even without knowing her insecurities, he still said the exact thing to make her accept herself. I think I might like Midoriya after all, Jiro thought to herself. A blush overcame her face. But through all that, a smile overtook everything. At that moment, she was happy. After they both returned to the dorms, all the students of Class 1A were working hard once again. They were all doing their utmost to ensure that the show would be the best it possibly could be. Time passed, and they finished practicing for the day. Midoriya was grabbing a snack from the kitchen when he was approached by Jiro. Hey, good work today. It's actually crazy how much you've learned in just a few days. I was wondering if you, wanted to practice a little bit more tonight. No pressure. We still have a lot more work to do tomorrow. But it'd be nice to sort of practice in a relaxed space, I guess. You down? Jiro prompted. She didn't really know why she felt this way, but she knew she wanted to hang out with Midoriya. Sure, Jiro. I'd love to get more practice. There's still a lot I can improve on. I have a lot of work to do if I want to be ready for the festival. Midoriya responded. Sounds good, let's go then, Jiro announced before grabbing his hand and leading him to her room. Ashido couldn't help but notice from across the room that she had grabbed his hand, and an evil grin appeared on her face. Oh, she has a lot to answer for later, she thought to herself. Bakugo also noticed this event occurring, but all he could pay attention to was the dumb and confused look plastered all over Midoriya's face. That idiot Deku has no idea what's going on. I can't stand how stupid he is. If he doesn't realize himself, I'll have to spell it out for that fucking idiot. Bakugo couldn't help but get angry, and started yelling incoherently at nothing, confusing his classmates. As Midoriya was being dragged away, he couldn't help but turn a violent shade of red whilst he got caught in a spiral of his own thoughts. Why is she holding my hand? She's holding my hand. There's no way she likes me, right? No, she's just leading the way. Yeah, she's leading the way. Nothing romantic about it. Nothing weird, right? Midoriya's thoughts ended, but he was unsure on how to feel. Despite this, he decided to push his thoughts to the side and just focus on learning the guitar for the night. Jiro and Midoriya practiced just like the last few days. However, today was different for Jiro. She had finally come to terms with her feelings and was unsure how to move forward. Do I tell him I like him? But what if he doesn't like me? Do I not say anything? But what if he does like me? Do I wait for him to say something to me? Is it too soon? I don't know what to think anymore. Jiro was internally tearing her hair out. She wasn't really sure if what she was feeling was actually liking him. Maybe she was jumping the gun a little bit. Despite feeling like she did, she decided to lock her feelings away for the time being, and just focus on teaching him for now. After all, her feelings can come later. After a few hours, Jiro finally resolved herself to push a little bit. She'd been thinking about what to say for hours, but she knew she was going to get nowhere if she said nothing. So, Midoriya, I'm sorry if this is asking a bit too much, but I need to know. What's got you feeling so down? I've gotta be honest, I can't stand seeing you like this. I'm sure the rest of class feels the same. Jiro twirled her earphone jacks for a moment before continuing. I want to help you, Midoriya, let me help you. You might not know it yet, but you've really helped me out a whole lot, and I want to return the favor. We need our resident hero nerd back. Jiro couldn't help but blush, but didn't hide her face. She looked at Midoriya with a look of determination. Midoriya sat there in his thoughts. She wants to know why I'm sad? She looks like she wants to help, but I can't just drop this all on her. Midoriya took a deep breath. Jiro sat there, in anticipation of what he had to say. Thanks for the offer, Jiro. I really appreciate it. But there's nothing wrong. I'm fine. A smile covered Midoriya's face. But to Jiro, that smile felt empty. She didn't know why he didn't want to tell her, but she didn't want to push further. She just admitted to herself that she liked him, and she didn't want to ruin anything before she got a chance to say anything. Alright, Midoriya, if you say so. But if you ever need to talk, I'm here for you. We're friends, right? Midoriya couldn't help but wince at the use of the word friend, but looked at Jiro to see genuine concern and compassion. Yeah, alright, Jiro, thank you. A sincere smile covered his face before he got back to practicing with Jiro. Jiro couldn't help but be reminded how cute Midoriya was, causing her to blush, but she knew that behind that smile was pain, and she didn't know how to get to the bottom of it. But she couldn't stand seeing him like this anymore, and she'd do everything she could to make him feel better. The night ended. It was late, and they both needed sleep, but they had again lost track of time. Good night, Jiro. Thanks for helping me again tonight. I think I'm really getting the hang of this now, so thank you, Midoriya said, with an earnest smile. Jiro really could not get over how cute this smile was, and it finally helped her push herself a little bit. Hey, Midoriya. Jiro couldn't help but pause for a while, before finally continuing. Hey, Izuku, it's Kyoka. I want you to call me Kyoka. Jiro, a deep shade of red covering her face. Midoriya, unsure how to react, turned a similar shade of red. Did she just call me by first name? Midoriya, still confused, questioned this. Okay, Kyoka, feel free to call me Izuku as well, but may I ask, why are you doing this? Midoriya didn't want to say something stupid, but he needed to know why. Because we're good friends, and good friends should call each other by their names, Jiro said with a smile. Midoriya felt his heart sting a little bit, due to the use of the word friend. Jiro similarly regretted using the word friend, hurting her heart a little bit in the process. I guess you're right, Kyoka. Alright, well, good night then. Let's both work hard tomorrow. As he left the room, he couldn't help but frown. He didn't know why, but his heart hurt a lot at that moment. As her door closed, Jiro couldn't help but frown as well. I've blown it, haven't I? I called him a friend. As soon as I said it, I regretted it, but I couldn't bring myself to tell him how I feel. I'm still not sure if what I'm feeling is right, but if it's not right, then why did it hurt so much to say that? Jiro tried to ignore it and go to sleep, but she couldn't ignore it and could only feel pain in her heart. Midoriya returned to his room and attempted to sleep. Whilst he did feel thankful for all the help Jiro had been giving him these past few days, and was really happy when she told him to call her by her first name, he couldn't help but feel slightly hurt inside. He didn't know why, but he went to sleep sad that night, the word friend plastered in his mind. He was reminded of what she asked. What's got you feeling down? He wanted to tell her, he wanted to cry, but he didn't. He couldn't force all that upon her. Vivid images of that day flashed through his mind. The horrors he'd forgotten over these past few days had been brought back to the forefront, along with the freshly stinging wound of what she said later. Because we're good friends, and good friends should call each other by their names. Midoriya was happy she considered him a friend, a good friend even, but deep inside he couldn't help but feel pain. For the first night since talking to Jiro, he began to cry, not completely sure as to why, but with a deep pain in his chest. Jiro could hear this cry, the same cry she had heard all those other nights, the same cry that had been absent these past few days, the cry of the very boy she liked, the cry of Midoriya. A deep stinging sensation hit Jiro's chest. I fucked up, is all she could think, as she hopelessly tried to fall asleep, with tears dripping down her cheeks. For the next 6 days they had the same routine, early morning training, and afternoon guitar practice. Jiro still wasn't sure how to process her newfound feelings. She knew she liked Midoriya, but she was almost certain she screwed things up with him. Recently she couldn't help but fall asleep with tears running down her cheeks. Midoriya was happy that Jiro considered him a friend, but he couldn't help but feel pain deep down in his heart. He knew she was only trying to help, but somewhere along the lines, her words hurt him more than anything else, and the tears that had been absent for a few nights had returned. Midoriya knew he liked Jiro, but he felt those feelings weren't reciprocated. He said he was fine just being friends with her, but every time he thought about it, the pain in his heart would always return. 21 days until UA Culture Festival. School started, and ended normally Friday, with both Midoriya and Jiro nervously avoiding each other. Both began walking back to their dorms, only for each of them to be stopped by different people. As Midoriya walked, he couldn't help but hear a voice he'd usually dread, this time in a voice that seemed somewhat concerned. Deku, idiot, we need to talk, come with me. It was Bakugo. He began walking to a secluded area near the Class 1A dorms, where he planned on telling Midoriya how stupid he was. As Jiro walked, she was tapped on the shoulder. She turned around to see a familiar face, the class drama seeker, Ashido. Hey Jiro, I was wondering if you wanted to have a little chat while we walk back to the dorms, asked Ashido. I guess I wouldn't mind. Why, what's up? Jiro responded. It's about your new friend, Midoriya. Or I guess I should say your new crush, the pink girl said with a wink, causing her friend to immediately turn a deep shade of red. How did she find out? What should I say? Do I lie? Jiro began to panic, turning redder as they walked. Crush? Midoriya? What makes you think that? We're just friends, Mina, Jiro proclaimed defiantly, turning redder as she spoke. Come on Jiro, there's no need to hide this from me. There's nothing wrong with liking someone, you gotta be open with your feelings, Ashido claimed. Jiro sat there for a moment, thinking about it. Is this really what I want? Jiro remembered all the times she's hung out with Midoriya over this past week, all the smiles, all the laughs. When she finally remembered why she was so interested in helping him, his sad eyes. I still haven't even figured out what's wrong. How am I supposed to tell him I like him if I can't even make him happy? Jiro finally decided to speak up. Mina, I need to talk to you about something. I guess I need your help. Turning even redder than she already was. 21 days until UA Culture Festival. Bakugo led Midoriya to a secluded tree-filled area, within the vicinity of the Class 1A dorms. They both sat there for a moment, unsure of what to do, before Midoriya decided to speak up. So Kaken, what was it you wanted to talk about? Midoriya couldn't help but trip over his words a little bit. This reminded him of the time he and Bakugo fought. But this was different somehow. But he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Just shut up Deku, let me talk, then you can say whatever the fuck you wanna say. Alright, Bakugo yelled angrily. What is Jiro to you? Bakugo asked, a genuine curiosity in his voice, but also one of concern, something Midoriya was not used to seeing in the blonde boy. What do you mean? Midoriya asked, still confused by the question. I asked you what is she to you, Bakugo yelled, getting angrier at how dense Midoriya was. Midoriya paused for a moment, thinking back to what she said last week. Because we're good friends, and good friends should call each other by their names. We're just friends, Midoriya continued, a hint of sadness in his voice. Cut the shit Deku, I couldn't care less about your fucking lies. Tell me how you really feel. Bakugo yelled. He could tell Midoriya wasn't telling the truth about how he felt, but he could also tell that those words weren't exactly lies. Midoriya sat there, looking down at his feet, lacking the conviction to say anything. He simply thought to himself that even if he liked Jiro, it wouldn't matter if she didn't like him. When he looked back up, he again saw Bakugo, but the look in his eyes wasn't the usual look of anger. It was one of concern for a friend. Of course Bakugo would never say that. But this reminded him of the time he and Bakugo fought. Bakugo was holding on to this guilt, that he was the one who ended All Might, that it was his fault. A sentiment that Midoriya similarly shared. However, Midoriya came to realize that sometimes getting the words out is important. Midoriya took a deep breath, bracing himself for what he was about to say. To me, Jiro is a hero. Jiro is my hero. She's the person who makes me feel happiest. She's the person who I most enjoy being around. She's the person who looks past my faults and judges me as a person. Jiro is my hero, and I think I like her. Midoriya couldn't help but look away after saying those last 4 words, a deep blush covering his face. But that doesn't matter. She doesn't like me. She's the one who said I was a good friend. She doesn't want anything more than that. I may like her, but that doesn't mean I should force my feelings onto her. I told myself I'd lock these feelings away. I don't want to interrupt my path to becoming a hero, or hers either, but I can't escape these thoughts, and I'm lost. Midoriya couldn't help but start tearing up. Stupid Deku, it's obvious that earlobes have feelings for you, as well. You're just too fucking dense to see it. It annoys me how dense you are, idiot. Bakugo spouted angrily, but with a sense of meaning. Midoriya stood there stunned, as Bakugo continued. Instead of sitting here, wallowing in your own self-pity, why don't you go and do something about it? Stupid Deku, have you even tried opening up to her? Get out of here, I've had enough of your shit. Bakugo walked away angrily. As he walked, he thought to himself, I can't just give you the answer, Deku. You need to find it yourself. You may be useless, but without you, I couldn't have accepted my weakness. Bakugo scoffed at his own thoughts, but walked away, content with what he'd conveyed to his friend. Midoriya sat there by himself for a bit, confused. Is Bakugo helping me? He said Kyoka likes me? I'm dense? Wait, backtrack. Kyoka likes me? Midoriya thinks back for a bit, to all the interactions he's had with Kyoka in the past week. He thought he was just reading into things too much. But she really liked him? Midoriya wasn't sure what to make of this until he remembered what Bakugo said. Have you even tried opening up to her? Is that what I should do? Is that what he's trying to tell me? Midoriya reconsidered this past week. He could say with certainty that it was one of the most enjoyable weeks in his life, and he feels happier now than he has in a while. But if he opened up to her, would that wipe away this lingering doubt and sadness? Midoriya continued to ponder this, as he returned to the dorms, but with a smile on his face. He knew he wouldn't say it, but Bakugo really was a good friend. Jiro and Ishido continued to walk towards the dorms. Ishido turned to Jiro, with a confused look on her face. You guess you need my help? I need to tell you how this started. The real reason that I wanted to help Midoriya wasn't just because he needed to learn guitar. Well, it was, but it's not the only reason. The other reason I had was, when I spoke to him, she seemed sad, doubtful of himself, full of insecurities, and I guess I related to that. Jiro paused for a moment, thinking back on her own insecurities regarding music. I tried getting closer to him, so I could actually ask what was wrong, but, in the process Jiro paused again, before slightly changing what she was saying. Do you remember Eri, the girl who visited the dorms with Togata? Ishido nodded, unsure of where Jiro was headed with this. Well, Midoriya told me who she was, that she's a girl who couldn't remember how to smile. Jiro couldn't help but smile, thinking back on what Midoriya said. After he told me that, he said your music can save this girl. Even though I wanted to help him with his own insecurities, he subconsciously helped me with mine. And Jiro paused, and Ishido pushed. And I think, somewhere along those lines, I started liking him, really liking him, and I don't know what to do. He helped me so much with just a few words, and I don't even know where to begin helping him. Ishido kept walking in silence for a moment, stunned at what she was just told. Did the nervous and stuttering Midoriya really say all that? Wow, I never thought you'd admit to liking him. Ishido took a moment to collect her thoughts before continuing. Well, if you like him, why don't you just tell him? To me it honestly seems like he likes you too. That's the thing. Later that night, after he told me that, I told him to call me by my first name, Jiro said nervously. I don't see what's wrong with that. Seems like a healthy step towards establishing a relationship, right? Ishido added, confused. But after I said that, he asked why. And I told him it was because good friends should call each other by their first names, Jiro said, guilt in her voice. Yuch, Ishido said bluntly. Well, if you really like him, then you should just go for it. Does it seem like he likes you back? Jiro pondered this question. Thinking back on all the time they've spent together, she started to remember subtle clues of him liking her. Things only she could know, like his heart rate, particularly the time when they held hands, and the other not-so-subtle clues that anyone could notice, that she chose to ignore because she didn't want to make a mistake. He might like me, but that doesn't change what I said. I can't take it back now. It's too late, Jiro replied, with sadness in her voice. You said the reason you started helping him was partly because you wanted to find out what was wrong. Why not try opening up to him, as well, then asking? I don't think it's too late, Jiro. You just need to go tell him what you said was wrong. Tell him you're not just friends. Tell him you want to be something more. I don't know why Ishido started walking ahead. Whatever you choose to do, I'm rooting for you, girl, Ishido yelled back. Jiro continued walking towards the dorms, getting lost in thoughts. Maybe she's right. Maybe it's not too late. No, it isn't too late. And I have to fix this before it becomes too late. I don't want to miss my opportunity. Jiro resolved herself after thinking this, ready to do what she needed to do to get her feelings across. She wanted Midoriya to be happy, and if it meant she had to open up to him about her insecurities, it was a small price to pay. They both returned to the dorms shortly after their conversations, but neither of them had the resolve to go speak to the other. Midoriya had been practicing with Jiro for pretty much the entire week, but was now found lounging on the couch, unsure of what to do next. Jiro returned to her room, and laid on her bed, unsure of how to process this new information. She wanted to talk to Midoriya. She wanted to make things right, tell him how she felt. She'd resolved to do so, she knew she had to, but she just couldn't bring herself to do it. She laid there for hours, not knowing what to do. As Midoriya sat on the couch, he couldn't help but hear a familiar voice call out to him. Midoriya, what's wrong? Midoriya turned to look at who it was. It was Todoroki. I'm not used to seeing you doing nothing, so I thought something was wrong. Is there anything you wanted to talk about? The boy asked, wanting to help his friend who once helped him. Todoroki Midoriya paused, unsure of where to start. I like Jiro, and I think she likes me, but I can't bring myself to talk to her. I'm scared I'm going to screw things up. Well, Midoriya, when has that ever stopped you before? Midoriya looked at Todoroki, confusion covering his face. Back at the sports festival, you could tell there was something wrong, and you threw away your chance at victory, destroyed your body, just to help me. I don't know if she actually likes you or not, but I do know that you're someone this entire class admires. Someone with the heart of a true hero. Even when life knocks you down, you get right back up, right? Todoroki scratched the back of his head, not really knowing if what he said had made any sense. I don't really know what's brought this on, but I know you'll probably be fine. I'm pretty sure you have a way with words anyways. Todoroki began walking away, unsure if he had helped or not. Thank you, Todoroki, Midoriya muttered before running off, probably towards Jiro's room. Todoroki couldn't help but smile. That kid really couldn't stop himself, could he? He better hurry up though. It's pretty late. Jiro was still lying on her bed, trying to push herself to get up, to go, and talk to Midoriya. She had sat up. She decided to stop doubting herself. No matter what happened, she would tell Midoriya how she felt. Jiro stood up, and opened her door, only to see the very boy she was thinking about moments ago, ready to knock. Kyoka Midoriya couldn't help but be surprised. Izuku Jiro took a moment. She looked into his eyes. She could see those same eyes filled with determination. Izuku, I need to talk to you about something. Her face was red, her eyes were watering, but she didn't look away. She needed to be strong. Midoriya saw conviction in her eyes. Overcome by a mysterious force of compassion, Midoriya wiped away her tears, and responded, All right, Kyoka, but I also have something to talk to you about. Jiro wasn't really sure what he wanted to talk about, but she led him into the room by his hands, a deep red blush still covering her face. Sure, but me first, Jiro exclaimed. They both entered Jiro's room, both with their hearts on their sleeves, unsure of what was to come. Jiro entered her room with Midoriya, with a deep red blush on her face. She was so nervous her hands were shaking, but she took a deep breath, and resolved herself. She needed to tell him. Now was the time. Izuku, what I wanted to talk to you about. She briefly paused, taking another deep breath before continuing. Izuku, I need to come clean. About myself, about how I feel, about my insecurities, about everything. Midoriya gave her a reassuring nod, as she began to speak. To tell you the truth, Izuku, I've always been afraid to tell people about my passion for music. That might sound weird, but let me explain. I've always thought of my passion for music as more of a hobby, something that doesn't actually help me become a hero, as something that I could enjoy on my own, but not with others. I've never been able to accept myself as both a musician and a hero, that those two things were mutually exclusive. I had always thought that, until you told me your music can save this girl. Without even knowing what my doubts were, you single-handedly helped me accept both sides of myself, that they could both be heroes, and that struck a chord with me. But that got me thinking about how sad you seem inside, like you doubt yourself. And I know it's superimposing of me to ask, but I want to know. I want to help you, Izuku. I can't stand seeing you sad like this. It makes me. Jiro stopped, beginning to cry. All Midoriya could do was comfort her, telling her everything is alright. Alright, Kyoka, I'll tell you everything, Midoriya finally said. I've got a lot that I haven't really sorted out internally, so you're going to have to bear with me. Midoriya steadied himself, took a deep breath preparing to speak. He gave Jiro a reassuring smile, showing her this is what he wanted to do. Recently I've had a lot of doubts about myself, as a hero. You see, I'm only here because people have believed in me, and pushed me up, and put me in a position where I am able to become a hero. But I keep letting those people down. At my internship, if I had been stronger, maybe I could have stopped things from happening. I keep having nightmares about what happened that day. I guess you don't actually know what happened, do you? Jiro shook her head, scared about what he was about to say. How scared was this boy? The purpose of the raid was to rescue Eri, the girl you met. You see, her quirk is the power to rewind on many different scales. For example, the power to rewind people back to when quirks didn't exist. The leader of the Yakuza was using her body in order to create bullets that were able to eliminate quirks completely. And whilst attempting to save that girl, Togata was hit with one of these bullets, losing his quirk completely. If I had only been faster, maybe I could have prevented it from happening. Maybe I could have saved him. When I finally got there, Mr. Night told me to help Togata and Eri escape. But whilst we were running, Jiro noticed that Midoriya began to shake in fear. She grabbed his hand in an effort to comfort him. Take your time, Jiro said, reassuringly. Midoriya, taking another deep breath, continued. When I looked back, Mr. Night had been impaled by the Yakuza leader. If I had only been faster, if only I had been stronger, maybe I could have prevented this. If I had done more, maybe they both wouldn't have suffered. It's all my fault. Midoriya reprimanded himself verbally. Knowing he could have done more, he should have done more, but he was unable to. It was the same at the training camp. If I hadn't broken all my bones in an attempt to save Kota, if I had been stronger, able to beat the villain without getting so injured, I could have saved Bakugo, and All Might wouldn't have had to retire. It's all my fault, Kyoka, all my fault. Midoriya began to burst into tears. All his insecurities, his doubts, his fears, had all been brought to the forefront. Jiro began tearing up, unable to believe what the boy had gone through in his time at U.A. This boy is so terribly scarred, and has no idea what he's supposed to do. I can't believe I've never noticed how truly hurt he is. I should have done something sooner, Jiro reprimanded herself, before beginning to speak. Izuku, it's not your fault, you did the best you could. She took a moment to gather her thoughts before continuing. Izuku, I didn't say this before, but you're my hero. The teary-eyed boy looked up, confused at what she meant. You helped me accept who I am. With just a few words, you became my hero, you cemented yourself in my heart. I'm sure Eri thinks the same thing. Without you, she would still be in an awful place. And despite everything that was stacked against you, you stood up and fought. You're her hero too. You broke your body and gave it all you had at the training camp in order to save a young, scared boy. You didn't care about the cost. You still gave it your all, and you pulled through. You're his hero as well. Jiro took a brief moment to look at his arm. His arm was proof of his heroism. All these scars were created in an effort to save someone. Izuku, you're a hero. No one's the perfect hero, and you know that. But still you continue on, you try your best, and you work towards helping others. You're a true hero, and I guess that's the reason I like you. Jiro couldn't help but turn red at what she just said. She just said it. She just told this adorable boy, with so many mental scars, she liked him, and she didn't regret it. Midoriya looked at Jiro, confused. Like we're good friends? He asked, still teary-eyed. No, you idiot, I like you, I like you. She turned even redder at this statement, before moving in to hug Midoriya, holding him tightly. Thank you for telling me that. You're a strong person, and you're my hero. Midoriya took a moment to process what just happened. His crush, Jiro, was currently hugging him. After confessing to him, he had no idea how to react or respond, but a smile crawled upon his face nonetheless, as he took a moment to gather his thoughts to respond. Kyoka, I like you too. You told me that I'm your hero. Well, to me you're my hero as well. You're the person who makes me feel happiest. You're the person who I most enjoy being around. You're the person who looks past my faults and judges me as a person, as an equal. You're the person who makes me feel like I can smile. You're my hero. Midoriya was red-faced throughout his entire confession, but he couldn't help but smile. Midoriya returned the hug. Jiro sat there, similarly unable to process what was happening, but she knew she was truly happy right now. She pulled away and looked deep into Midoriya's eyes. They were no longer eyes of sadness, but now eyes of acceptance, and Jiro was glad. A mysterious force overcame her in that moment, and unable to resist, she brought her lips forward and pressed them against Midoriya's. They sat there for a moment, only wanting each other, a moment of passion between two broken souls, now healing thanks to the other. After several moments, they pulled away. Midoriya was a deep shade of red. He couldn't really explain what just happened, but he didn't really mind it either. He smiled as he kissed her. Alright, well, it's getting pretty late, I should go back to my room. Thanks for everything, Kyoka, I'm happy. An earnest smile once again covered Midoriya's face. The same smile that made Jiro fall for him. She blushed a deep red. Midoriya stood up and looked his newly found girlfriend in the eyes. I'll see you tomorrow. Jiro had brought him for a kiss, and had brought him closer towards her. Don't go, stay with me tonight. I want to spend more time with you, so please stay with me. Jiro couldn't help but blush and look away. She couldn't believe what she had just asked. Midoriya lit up at the request. Wait, what? I mean, I'm not against the idea, but isn't it a little bit too soon? All I asked was for you to stay. Jiro stopped upon realizing the implication of the words she just spoke, turning even redder than she already was. No, not like that. I mean, I'm not against that, but Jiro sat there for a moment on her bed, before continuing. Tonight I just want to be with you, so can we Jiro took a moment to be able to get it out. Can we cuddle? Jiro asked, a deep shade of red on her face, whilst being overcome by nervousness. Midoriya looked at the blushing girl, and couldn't help but smile. She really doesn't know how cute she is, does she? With a newfound confidence rushing into him, he finally broke the silence. I'd love to cuddle with you, Kyoka, a smile beaming across his face. Jiro couldn't help but blush even harder. Seriously, Izuku, you really don't understand how cute you are. She pouted for a moment, but a smile returned to her face. Thank you, Izuku. Jiro got up off of the floor and led Midoriya in her bed. She could hear his heart was still racing thanks to her quirk, but there was something else. His heart sounded content. Jiro couldn't help but smile before she brought the green-haired boy into her arms. Good night, Izuku. Thanks for everything, Jiro said sleepily. Good night, Kyoka. Thank you for being my hero, Midoriya responded, unable to stop himself from kissing her again, before slowly drifting off to sleep herself. In this moment, nothing else mattered. It was just the two of them together. In this moment they felt right, not caring about the world around them. The couple slowly drifted off to sleep, with a newfound happiness, content with holding the other in their arms. 20 days until UA Culture Festival. Saturday came, sunlight blasting through Jiro's window. Jiro opened her eyes only to notice the green-hair boy she had just been cuddling with throughout the night. Jiro couldn't help but blush for a moment. She cuddled with him, didn't she? I guess we're boyfriend and girlfriend now. I don't really know how to feel. The blush on Jiro's face got stronger. Jiro still couldn't believe she slept in the same bed as him. They didn't do anything sexual, but it left her feeling strange. But she didn't mind at all. A smile came across her face as she kissed the sleeping boy on his forehead, and with a whisper, "Thank you, Izuku," before she got up to get changed. She had been in the same clothes since she had gotten back to her dorm room yesterday, and on top of that she hadn't showered. She looked back at the sleeping boy, a small smile creeping across her face once again. The shower can wait. Jiro decided she would at least get changed, but was planning on hopping back into bed with her new boyfriend. A beam of light hit Midoriya's eyes. The sudden light caused him to wake up, albeit against his will. Midoriya took a moment, rubbing his eyes with his arm, before opening them again. In front of him, a half-naked Jiro with nothing but panties on. Midoriya couldn't help but turn a violent shade of red from the sight, before he covered his eyes, and began to nervously apologize. "Kyoka, sorry. I didn't mean to see you like this." A look of panic over Midoriya's face. Jiro hadn't yet noticed that Midoriya was awake, and was surprised to hear his voice. "What are you apologizing for?" Jiro stopped herself, and looked down, noticing she wasn't wearing anything besides her panties. Turning an even more violent shade of red than the boy in her bed, Jiro angrily yelled, "You stupid pervert!" before moving one of her earphone jacks mere centimeters away from his face before stopping. The purple-haired girl sighed. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have gotten angry with you." The still blind Midoriya moved his forearm away from his eyes slowly, only to see one of her earphone jacks centimeters away from his eye. "But I'm not finished getting dressed yet, so don't look," she angrily pouted. Midoriya couldn't help but think of her reaction, as cute as he obliged, covering his eyes once again. A few moments later, Jiro was finished getting changed, in a purple t-shirt with the words "Deep Dope" on it, and some shorts on. "Alright, Izuku, I'm done," Jiro said, as she began getting back into bed with Midoriya. Midoriya uncovered his eyes, to see the girl looking into his eyes, a sincere smile on her face. Midoriya couldn't help but think about how cute she was again, but was confused as to why she was getting back into bed. "Shouldn't we get up and do some training?" the green-haired boy asked. "I want to spend this morning relaxing with you." Jiro couldn't help but look away saying that, before she was brought into a loving embrace from Midoriya. "Alright, but only for today." Jiro smiled, and returned the hug. "Thank you," before dozing back to sleep with her boyfriend. Meanwhile, outside of the girls' room, people had finally begun to realize that Midoriya had never returned to his room last night. Whilst this led some people, such as Ida and Uraraka concerned, and some confused, Bakugo, Todoroki, and Ishido sat in silence, knowing where the green-haired boy likely was. As much as Ishido wanted to shout and proclaim their love, she stayed silent for her friend. But she couldn't promise she'd do that once Midoriya came back. "Did Midoriya train all of last night? I swear he needs to sleep. Without rest, training is for naught." A concerned Ida couldn't help but sputter. But what if Deku is hurt, Ida? We need to go find him. He might be in danger, Uraraka retorted. The class had always known she had feelings for Midoriya, and her overprotective attitude towards the boy didn't help her case either. Don't worry guys, I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he'll show up to practice with a smile on his face. Ashido calmed her class, with a bright smile. I guess you're right, but if he's not back by the scheduled practice time, I'm going to go look for him, Ida responded. Yeah, Uraraka added. Whilst the class stopped talking about where Midoriya was, that didn't stop some of them from speculating. Kirishima in particular had a pretty good idea of what might have happened, but wanted to talk with Ashido to confirm it. He could tell she knew something the rest of the class didn't. Kirishima approached Ashido, who was currently lounging on the couch, looking for something to watch. Hey Ashido, I was wondering if you wanted to join us for breakfast this morning. I'm already cooking for Bakugo, so I can cook for you, as well. Kirishima gave her an earnest smile. Ashido glanced at the table to see Bakugo, and whilst she didn't hate the guy, he could get annoyed. But the offer of free food without the effort was too good to pass up for her. Sure, Kirishima, she beamed, before getting up and walking with him to the table. As they walked, Kirishima couldn't help but blush. He had always thought the pink-haired girl was cute, and this wasn't helping. They both got to the table, and Ashido took a seat across from Bakugo, who was leaning back, with his eyes closed. Alright, I'll get working on breakfast. I'll make it as manly as possible, Bakugo, Kirishima spouted, earning a glare from Bakugo, who had now opened his eyes. As Kirishima got to work in the kitchen, Bakugo changed his attention to Ashido, who was currently scrolling through her phone. He decided to break the silence. You know, don't you, Horns? Bakugo asked, with his usual demeanor. Annoyed at being called Horns, Ashido responded in a tantrum-like manner. You know I have a name, right, Bakugo? An angry pout on her face. I don't care about your name. I'm asking if you know, he asked again, this time with a more annoyed tone. It took a moment for Ashido to realize what he was talking about, before it finally clicked. He's talking about Jiro and Midoriya. Are you talking about Jiro and Midoriya? She whispered, attempting to confirm. Obviously, who else would I be fucking talking about? He scoffed. Well, how did you find out? Did stupid Deku tell you? Ashido looked back, with a confused look on her face. No, Jiro asked me for help, so I helped her. What about you, Explosion Boy? How do you know? She retorted, a smug arrogance in her voice. Deku was obviously too stupid to see that earphones liked him, so I told him to stop being scared, and just tell her how he felt. The usual angry scowl returned to Bakugo's face, but he seemed almost happy to Ashido. Well, aren't you a good friend? Well, what do you think happened? Do you think they had sex? Mina asked with a sly grin, eager to hear his response. No, Deku's too much of a pussy for that. Besides, it's way too soon for that, he replied. But they're probably together now. Bakugo's angry scowl left his voice when he said that. He almost sounded happy for Midoriya. He better be. Because of his not, I'm gonna lose it, he shouted, returning to his angry scowl once again. I hope you're right. I think they'd make a cute couple. Ashido couldn't help but smile. Kirishima, who had remained in the kitchen to continue cooking breakfast, but was secretly listening in on the conversation, and his suspicions were confirmed. Although he couldn't really believe that Bakugo knew about it, as well, Kirishima had a smile on his face. Good for Midoriya. He's a nice guy. They'll make a good couple, he thought, before he put the final touches on breakfast and returned to the table. Kirishima, Bakugo, and Ashido all ate together that morning. Ashido was glad to be offered food, but she was really surprised at how good it was. She finished her meal and thanked Kirishima. Invite me to breakfast more often in Kirishima. You're a good cook. She beamed, causing the red-haired boy to blush heavily, before she left to go watch some TV with the other class members before they had to practice again. Some time passed. Jiro and Midoriya decided it was best they try to hide it for now. As much as they didn't want to, they needed some more time first before everyone found out. Midoriya decided that he'd go out the window and train outside for a bit, to make the excuse more believable. Midoriya trained for an hour or so, and returned back inside shortly after everyone had finished breakfast. He couldn't help but notice Jiro in the kitchen, preparing breakfast for herself, and, as much as he wanted to go up to her and talk to her, he decided against it. Midoriya, where have you been? Shouted a concerned Ida. Sorry Ida, I decided to go out and get some training done last night, but I had a lot I wanted to do, so I guess I've been going all night. I'm sorry if I worried you. Midoriya bowed. It's fine I suppose, but you really should get some rest. Without rest your body won't recover. You should also let Uraraka know you're okay. She was very worried about you. Midoriya nodded, and headed for Uraraka, who was sitting on the couch with Mina and Yaoyorozu. Hey Uraraka, I heard you were worried. I just wanted to let you know, there's no cause for concern. Midoriya beamed his usual smile, causing Uraraka to blush, before she responded. I wasn't worried, I knew you'd be fine. Train on, she shouted, a blush still on her face. Ashido, who was sitting next to Uraraka, as he came, had a sly grin on her face. As Midoriya left, most likely to go have a shower, she got up. Where are you going? Uraraka questioned the pink girl. I haven't spoken to Jiro today, so I figured I'd go say hi. She smiled brightly, as she approached Jiro, who had just showered, and was currently eating cereal at the table by herself. Ashido couldn't help but notice her sneaking glances at Midoriya, who was currently headed for the showers, causing Ashido's grin to reappear. So Jiro, did you have fun last night? Jiro shivered hearing Ashido's voice. She knew what was coming, and she was not looking forward to it. What do you mean, Mina? Jiro attempted to feign ignorance, but that wouldn't work against the pink girl. Oh, you know what I mean. So did you two have sex? Ashido asked, an evil grin still covering her face. The question itself caused Jiro to turn bright red. No, nothing like that, she exclaimed. We just cuddled. A smile returned to Jiro's face, remembering the night she spent with Midoriya. That's so cute. So when do you plan on telling the class? Can I tell them? Ashido asked excitedly. No, Mina, me, and Izuku, we both agreed we wouldn't tell anyone yet, so you have to keep it a secret, alright? I want you to promise me you'll keep it secret until we tell people. Jiro responded, determination in her eyes. Alright. Just so you know, I'm happy for you, girl, Ashido announced, as she began returning the couch she had just left. Jiro continued eating her cereal, still bright red, but with a smile on her face. Midoriya, who was still fresh off a workout, finished having his shower, dried himself, and was getting ready to have a late breakfast before being interrupted by Todoroki, who had similarly finished showering, and was heading to the common area to hang out with his classmates before they got back to work on effects. Todoroki couldn't help but notice that the air around Midoriya was different somehow, like he had some newfound confidence. Curious about what happened the night before, Todoroki began to question the boy. So, after we spoke, what happened? Todoroki asked, pretty bluntly. Well, I went to Kyoka's room, and I told her about all my problems, all my insecurities, all my fears, and she did the same. I didn't expect her to open up to me in all honesty. Then she confessed to me, told me I was her hero. I haven't been this happy in a long time, Todoroki. A smile branded on Midoriya's face. Todoroki could tell he was facing the future, ready to take on whatever challenges were waiting for him. Todoroki couldn't help but feel happy for his friend. So, what happened after that? I never heard you go back to your room. Did you guys have sex? Todoroki questioned, slightly embarrassed at what he had just asked. The question caused Midoriya to turn a bright shade of red. Sex, Midoriya stuttered. No, nothing like that. She just told me she wanted to spend the night with me, and we just cuddled. Midoriya shyly admitted, still bright red. Todoroki smiled. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm happy for you, Midoriya, he responded earnestly, truly happy for his friend. Do you plan on telling anyone yet, or do you plan on keeping it a secret for now? Todoroki asked. He wasn't planning on telling anyone anyway, but wanted to be sure. No, not yet. We both decided we should wait a little bit before we tell everyone, maybe after we're finished the school festival. Midoriya responded, his usual demeanor shining through. Todoroki smiled again. Alright, well, I'll catch you. Damn Deku, did you ask Todoroki for help after I helped you? Bakugo angrily interrupted. Kaken, he asked what was wrong, so I told him, Midoriya nervously responded. Stupid Deku, well, what the fuck happened last night? Did you fuck earphones? Bakugo angrily asked. No, we didn't have sex, we just spent the night together. Besides, shouldn't we wait till we know each other more? Midoriya couldn't help but rebut, causing Bakugo to scoff. Of course you should wait, damn Deku. Now I can finally stop worrying about you being so dense, Bakugo retorted, his angry scowl remaining. You planning on telling anyone yet, idiot? Bakugo asked angrily. He said he wasn't going to yet, Todoroki interjected, trying to defuse the situation. Stupid Deku, well, your secret's safe with me. Just don't go fucking her yet, he responded angrily. I wish you two the best, he whispered, as he walked away. Todoroki couldn't hear what he said, but Midoriya could. He simply nodded, knowing his friend wished the best for himself, and Jiro, causing his smile to return. Alright, well, I still haven't had breakfast yet, Todoroki, so I'm going to go eat. We have a lot of work to do, so let's get to it, Midoriya cheered. Yeah, I'll see you later then. They both went their separate ways. Several hours passed, and everyone was hard at work. Ashido was hard at work drilling the dance moves into the dance team. Ida had freshly been scouted by the effects team, as they needed someone strong who would be able to carry Aoyama. The effects team was hard at work, trying to figure out how they can make everything flow perfectly, and the band team had been hard at work, and were getting the hang of the song. Bakugo kept adding new arrangements every now and again, which confused everyone, and Midoriya still made a few mistakes, but they were well on their way to being ready to perform. After finishing a fresh practice run of the song, Jiro decided it was time to give the band team a break. Alright guys, we've been working hard for a few hours now, let's take a 20-minute break, and meet back here. Hey, effects team, dance team, we're gonna take a break, come join us for lunch, Jiro shouted. Jiro started stretching before moving into the hallway to see her new boyfriend stretching down, touching his toes. A sly smile creeped across her face, as she poked the boy, scaring him. Kyoka, you scared me, Jiro couldn't help but describe his little pout, as cute as she let out a small laugh. I'm sorry Izuku, I just couldn't help it, she smiled looking at her new boyfriend. So Izuku, you think you've got the hang of the song now? Jiro questioned. Yeah, thanks to your help, I think I can finally do it pretty consistently, Midoriya replied, as he beamed a smile. Jiro couldn't help but feel her heart flutter at this moment. Geez, he really does not understand how cute he is. Unable to control herself, she leaned in for a kiss, which he returned. The kiss is brief, and Jiro hoped that no one saw, but her fears were realized when she heard a voice behind her. Deku? What's going on? They both turned back to the common area, to see Uraraka standing there, a look of confusion and concern growing on her face. Behind her, the rest of Class 1A were all watching attentively. The entire class had just seen what they did. Both Jiro and Midoriya turned bright red at the discovery, unsure of what to do. Bakugo, who had also seen what had just happened. I thought they wanted to keep it a secret, stupid idiots. Deku really should watch where he is. Bakugo couldn't help a smug smile from crawling across his face. Ashido, realizing what had happened, used this opportunity to get the drama she so desired, but to also attempt to help them out in the process. Better for them to get this out of the way than try to avoid it, she thought, before she started speaking. You two have a lot of explaining to do, she said firmly, albeit with a smug grin on her face. The secret was out. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.